The world has some strange illnesses. They can be really hard for the people who have them, but they're interesting to learn about for the rest of us. Have you ever heard of foreign accent syndrome? It's when someone suddenly starts speaking with a different accent, like French or Chinese, even though they've never been to those places. Or what about Alice in Wonderland syndrome? That's when things look much smaller than they really are. But let's not make jokes. These illnesses can be scary and make life very difficult for those who have them. One such illness we'll talk about today is encephalitis lethargica, also known as the sleeping sickness. This disease, which is called EL and which is a kind of encephalitis, is the inflammation of the brain. It's a little difficult to understand the reason because we don't know what exactly causes it. It can be initiated by signs such as headache, blurred vision, fever, slow movements, and slow thinking. In the worst cases, it can turn people into almost living statues. Other symptoms include strong eye movements, weakness in both arms, muscle pains, shaking, stiff neck, and changes in behavior like acting strangely. Disease can occur through different ways. At other times, it happens due to viruses or autoimmune diseases that attack the brain and cause inflammation. The tick or the mosquito bite is another way of transmission. However, it is quite rare, though some children have gotten it after receiving certain vaccines. Naming this condition varies from one doctor to another depending on what caused it. In case it is from a previous infection, they call it post-infectious encephalitis. They might not be able to find the cause or the reason the body is attacking itself, and they call it autoimmune encephalitis. Encephalitis is one of the most common diseases that strike 1 million people per year, and in 2015, the number of people who died from it was 150,000. The symptoms of the disease can be mild and lack many symptoms in some cases. Among different forms of encephalitis, the one that is the most frightening is sleeping sickness. It is a type of encephalitis which is not known why it happens, but it has a lot of terrible symptoms. The period between 1915 and 1926 witnessed a devastating sleeping sickness pandemic that became an international issue. To be more precise, during this period, some 5 million people were infected, and more than a third of them died. Those who were lucky enough to survive were the ones who bore the scars and the effects that never fully healed, leaving them behind in life. Oliver Sacks, a famous British neurologist, detailed the case of patients with encephalitis lethargica who seemed like living statues. They would sit still, gazing into nothing and showing no interest in anything that was happening around them. Sacks noted that they appeared to possess no soul and as much life as a zombie. The disease was in different stages. At the beginning, people may feel apprehensive, have a slight temperature, and even experience double vision. They knew something was not right, but they couldn't find out what it was. As the disease grew more advanced, things only got harder. Patients were no longer interested in living, a process which made them become different individuals. Some of them were frozen and they became motionless, and most of them died because their breathing stopped. Encephalitis survivors had a chance to develop post-encephalitic Parkinsonism, a disorder close to Parkinson's disease. Unfortunately, some of them managed to regain their health completely. The Encephalitis Society notes that outcomes vary. Symptoms may vanish for some, others may die, and others may live with Parkinsonian symptoms. Completely, about 40% of the people who got the disease died. 20% of those who survived could not walk or talk. 26% had problems for a long period of time, and 14% recovered completely. It is worth noting that the majority of those who suffered from post-encephalitic Parkinsonism had been children before they developed the condition. People who had survived their childhood in such conditions often grew up with an unusual behavior characterizing them as being impulsive or appearing not to care about others. Some of these children with encephalitis who grow up to be adults exhibit appalling behavior, some of which is similar to psychopathy. The conversation describes cases of sadism, vandalism, lying, and even self-mutilation. Example, removing their own eyes. This behavior of them became increasingly worrying during the onset of adolescence, with outrageous sexuality and sexual assault regardless of age or gender. Although some of these children were able to recover over time, for others, the only thing that could calm down their uncontrolled behavior was the manifestation of post-encephalitic Parkinsonism. It was a common occurrence when they were faced with the responsibility of being adults. The majority of them eventually found themselves locked up in hospitals. Some of the patients reported that they were unable to take actions on their intentions and desires, while others were like statues, catatonic yet mentally alert. This might seem like a common thing if you have watched the movie Awakenings, which is about survivors of Encephalitis lethargica and their awakening from their catatonic state with the drug L-Dopa, which was administered by the renowned neurologist Oliver Sacks. Sacks wrote a book about this event, which was the foundation of the movie with Robert De Niro as the main cast. Is it possible that an epidemic can happen again? It seems that sporadic cases of EL have been detected. Professor John Oxford, the virologist, was worried about the mysterious cause of SARS in 2004. He said that it could happen again without knowing the reason. He stressed the need to grasp the cause in order to forestall the occurrence of more cases in the future. BBC reported a case in 1993 where a girl was admitted to hospital because of hallucination, shaking, and strange movements of her hands. Her brain was found to be inflamed, and she was diagnosed with EL at age 23. However, she was not cured yet, as it took her 2 years to recover. The BBC reported 20 more cases of this bizarre disease in the following years, and some patients did not get fully better. This gives us a hint of the mystery that is still surrounding EL and its potential danger. Doctors studying the recent cases of EL made a significant discovery. Among the patients, the first signs were the sore throat. It was discovered that the patients infected with this particular bacterium had a rare form of bacteria known as Streptococcus bacteria. Doctors considered the possibility that this bacterium had undergone mutation and that it was the origin of EL. This served as a starting point for British physicians to go through medical records of previous EL cases. They uncovered a consistent pattern. Many people complained of sore throats as one of the first signs of it. Besides, the records have shown the presence of Diplococcus bacteria, which is a genus of Streptococcus bacteria. This historical data seemed to point to a possible relationship between Streptococcus bacteria and the start of EL, and thus provided new insights in the understanding of the disease. The revelation of the possible connection of Streptococcus bacteria to EL is noteworthy, but it does not mean the mystery is completely solved. Despite the fact that medical experts are still adamant that there's no clear evidence that is directly linked to the cause of the EL. Nevertheless, the majority of experts consider the Streptococcus bacteria as a more plausible cause than the flu virus which was previously presumed. It is crucial to remember that the world is not over just because one relationship has ended. The chances of contracting EL are very rare, even when it is accompanied by a sore throat. Well, your chances of getting EL are greater than winning the lottery. Therefore, although it is vital to care about your health, you should not be overly worried about every single sore throat you get.